Greetings. Welcome to Shonsky's Garage. I'm in the Great White North, Wisconsin, Green Bay. Starting to turn fall out there, early October. Installing an aftermarket exhaust into a Ferrari F355. And this is a really kind of a no-name exhaust. It's really actually quite nicely constructed. It's all stainless, mandrel bends. Of course, most people do a Capristo or a Tubi. This exhaust, this muffler, is from a company called Top Speed. And when I looked at the construction and when I looked at the price, to me it was a no-brainer. The Capristo is, I could find a used one for around 2,500 bucks. Tubi is likewise expensive, brand new. They're both over $3,000. This one was 600 and change delivered. And I'm also doing an oil change in this car. I don't like to film and work. I guess I don't have the right equipment to set this all up, so I can just kind of explain what I'm doing. The oil change in this car is actually pretty simple. It does use a dry sump lubrication system, so there's an oil tank situated there, and the oil filter is there, and you'll notice some holes in it. I did that to release some of the oil inside that while it's still draining. And there is a plug on the bottom of the motor, on the pan, and then there's a plug on the bottom of that oil tank. It takes approximately 9 liters, I believe, and I've been letting it drain for a couple days, and it's amazing how much comes out if you just let it sit. The air box is missing. That's over here, and it's kind of like, to me it's kind of like working on, I never worked on an armored fighting vehicle like a tank or something, but the air system on this thing reminds me of pictures of working on the back of a tank from World War II. So essentially though, you remove the air boxes that are situated over here and over here. There's the 2 inlets, and then the mass air sensor. There's one mass air sensor. And what's cool about this motor is that you can see the individual, you can just make out the individual throttle bodies. And that's the difference between this motor and the 360. It's a little smaller than a 360 in terms of displacement, but that uses a plenum, individual plenums for each bank on the 360. The 355 uses individual throttle bodies, which is, to me, is really cool. Really separates this car from really most every other car out there. The only other car I can think of, the M5, early 90s M5, 3.5 liter inline 6 BMW produced, had individual runners. The M3 of the mid 90s, E36, was supposed to have that in America. Only the European market got the individual throttle bodies. So this car is definitely unique, and I think it's kind of contributes to the way it sounds. But this exhaust is so corked up, it just it needs to breathe a little better, and I hope that this rather inexpensive aftermarket deal will do the trick. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and proceed, and I'll be reporting back as we go. So once you have removed the heat shield, airbox heat shield, you can see the exhaust. So there are the catalytic converters, which were apparently replaced on this car, and they will stay. And so it's a matter of removing this here, and then the bottom pipes down there. So you can just see the clamps there, and clamp down there. So it's connected to 3 spots, so it's kind of weird. And so the headers, if you will, they split into 2, and one split goes up to this section up here on a cat, and then on the bottom. So there's 4 catalytic converters, and according to the guy I bought it from, they were replaced. So now that we have the exhaust disassembled, so this is driver's side mount, center flange. Lower flanges are disconnected. Mount over here is disconnected. But it will not come out due to the bumper cover. So I'm going to have to remove that, and I think I've got a pretty good idea how to do this, and once we have that, we should be good to go in terms of putting the new exhaust back on. So, cheers. Okay, so bumper cover is removed, and heat shield, the rear facing heat shield is removed, and the muffler was removed. So this was pretty comprehensive. Got to disconnect the license plate lights, the side markers, fasteners here, fasteners here. Not too bad. It all has to come out every 5 years when you do the cam belt change. So the car is meant to be taken apart. It's nothing crazy. It's like anything. So now we'll put the new muffler in. By the way, here is the old muffler. Huge, and heavy. And this is the new one. So hopefully I've got everything I need to put that in and button it up today. So keep it going. So now the exhaust is installed, the aftermarket exhaust here, and we'll see how it lines up once the bumper gets put back on, the rear bumper, which is really not much of a bumper at all. It's really just a cover, but it doesn't cover a bumper. You have this very stout piece of bracketry here, which is connected to the frame, if you will, and that's solid, but there is no bumper beam across here. You basically have a plastic bumper that is cosmetic, and it holds the license plate lights and license plate and side markers, and that is about it. So kind of interesting. So the exhaust is what it is. In the meantime here, I'm going to change the this is the hydraulic fluid for the F1 Manumatic transmission. This car is equipped with a first generation F1 automatic transmission, if you will. It's hardly automatic. It's a manual box with a hydraulic interface, and activated by these solenoid switches, and not unlike the twin clutches of today. However, this car is a single clutch, a traditional clutch, and that is located back here. It's a dry clutch, you can see it, and in order to change that, which is otherwise pretty easy, you just got to take the muffler off and repeat what I'm doing here. And that was changed last year. It's great, feels good, no problems there. And I'll be taking a test drive when this is all done, but in the meantime I'm going to change the hydraulic fluid for the shifting interface, the power steering fluid over there, and then the brake fluid, which is located under this nice cover here. So this just has to come out, and master cylinder is located in this area. So that is where we're at now, and yeah, to be continued. So the exhaust is complete, oil change, gearbox, power steering, and does sound better.
I did give it a couple